And this is Elise Mayfield.
And welcome to Who's Zooming In?
Who's Zooming In?
It's so good to see you today.
It's so good to see you too. Welcome to episode 15.
15. I can't believe it. I'm excited. I'm excited that people keep watching. Tell everybody why we do this again.
We're doing this because we miss our people.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that you guys do too. And Who's Zooming In is our opportunity to catch up with our most favorite folks and find out what they've been up to and what they're doing and everything that's going on, even during the pandemic. And I am really excited about today's guest because this is one of my dear friends from Chicago.
Okay, so before I get to meet her,
yes.
Let's what are we not talking about today, Miss Lady of the Rules? All right.
Well, speaking of Chicago, I just don't think that we should taunt Allison with how warm it is in Alabama / cold, but like, I know it's colder there. So I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Oh my gosh, it was 54 degrees today. It was so cold.
So cold. I also I'm making a casual mention and then we shouldn't even touch on it again, but I just want to say that I love how hard everybody is leaning into their Christmas decorations right now. It makes me so happy.
Very happy.
And the last thing that I just want to mention, and then we won't talk about it anymore, but have you ever had a frozen persimmon?
I haven't even I've never had a non-frozen persimmon.
Okay. A heads up. If you see a persimmon at the grocery store, you put it in the freezer, let it freeze, you chop the top off, and then you eat it like a custard with a spoon. It is delicious.
Okay, then we're not going to talk about it anymore.
We're not talking about it anymore, though.
But it might occupy my mind.
Right. Hot take, eat a persimmon. Okay, great.
All right, let's meet this guest. I'm so excited. Woo!
Yes. So today we are meeting one of my friends I realized it while I was writing the agenda that we have been friends for over 10 years now, which is crazy. She is a brilliant director and devised theater artist who is now a pop culture writer whose work can be found in The Vulture, the AV Club, in Paste, RogerEbert.com, etc. She writes about TV and movies. And she is also a published author of a book called How TV Can Make You Smarter. And she's also a podcaster for Debating Doctor Who and the Podlander Drunkcast.
Wow.
Which are very fun. So, Allison Shoemaker, please zoom into the room. Yay.
Get in here. Yay.
I zoomed in. I zoomed. I have one of those little protector things. I should have gone.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity. It's okay. It's okay. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here.
Meet you. I love meeting Elise's friends. Yay.
Likewise.
So you and Allison, I actually was trying to remember how we met and I can't remember, which I think is a sign of a good friendship. I think a lot of long friendships are like, oh yeah, like suddenly we were just really good friends and I don't really remember how that happened.
I know.
Oh, good. Please remind me.
Because we may have met in passing, but the first time I remember thinking, ooh, that Elise Mayfield, I want to be friends with her, is when you auditioned for The Gay American.
Yes.
Which is a play that Elise was very good in, which I directed. And it was a special experience, and it sort of feels, but it also sort of feels like we've always been friends. Like, for elementary school, like, that sort of energy.
That's fantastic. That's the same way I felt about Elise when I met her. It's like I met her and I thought, I want to be friends with her.
Yeah, she's one of those people.
She's one of those people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
After that show, I joined Allison's theater company called the Ruckus. So I think the second show that I ever did, and we have to touch on this just because of the actual literal nature of what we are doing right now, which is talking and connecting over social media. So I was cast in a devised work that was called 15 Minutes. And Allison, will you give us a brief synopsis of what 15 Minutes was about?
Yeah. So 15 Minutes, which started basically just as an idea. So all of the actors involved essentially created their own characters, which was so fun. But it is about a society, a future society in which people are isolated and living in apartments by themselves. Anytime that they need a repair or some sort of service in their apartment, they have to step very far away, make lots of distance for the person to come in and repair everything. They communicate on big touch screens. They exercise on camera, they sleep on camera, they eat on camera. The most popular form of entertainment is a bunch of like 15-second videos. And that's the world we're introduced to. And then in the second act, a group of them get invited to essentially go on what they believe is a reality show, like the real world, but in the future in an actual house, and they don't know whether or not there are actually cameras there. So it's all about what it's like to be completely isolated from people in a physical sense while being incredibly connected to them remotely, to going to sharing physical space when you've never done that before.
Gosh, it sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
And I think this was in what, 2011?
2011,
like,
yeah.
Before we could have
my
known.
word.
Yeah, I not long after that, when we did the show 3 times maybe,
Uh-huh.
because it sort of had a way of coming back.
Yes, it did.
So we did it a few times, and not long after what I think was the last time, a friend of mine who's now my partner was like, hey, you have to see this episode of Black Mirror.
Yes.
It's going to blow your mind. And there's an episode of Black Mirror called 15,000 Credits, which is about a singing competition and exercising on camera and the only currency being fame and a bunch of themes that are explored in 15 minutes. And
Yes.
at the time I was like, oh, well, now I'm doomed. Like this really wonderful thing we built together is going to have no legs because everyone is going to assume we ripped off Black Mirror. And it turns out that the real threat was just reality. It's a future play that's accidentally incredibly timely. It's very weird.
Yes, it really is.
That's fantastic. So how do you get from running a theater and doing theater like that to now you write for
About TV and pop culture.
Yeah, pop culture writing.
Well, it turns out that you use a lot of the same muscles of when you're analyzing a play, or a scene or a performance that you do when you're writing a review. So the very boring version of this story is I realized that theater was making me the kind of theater I was doing, the intensity at which I was doing it, and the cost to my health and sanity and social life was so intense, that was so overwhelming, that it was making me more unhappy than it was making me happy. And when I needed a new dream, I was like, what do I want to do? I have no idea. And then I want to write about television just sort of came out of my mouth. And it turns out that was accurate. It's an absolute passion. I love it. I love seeing something and analyzing it. I love championing things that are maybe not being seen as widely. I love getting into why we're so intrigued by the things that we're intrigued by, different perspectives and lenses and all of these really wonderful things. So it feels like I'm using a lot of the same skills, even though they're coming out in a totally different way. I certainly still feel artistically fulfilled, even though I'm not creating in the same way that I used to before.
Yeah. Well, I would say, your voice was always really, really specific with your theater work, but I hear it especially in your writing, which is why I particularly love the book you published.
There it is, people.
How TV Can Make You, How TV Can Make You Smarter by Allison Shoemaker.
It's a book. It's wild.
It's so wonderful. And I can hear your voice reading it, which is also like, I particularly love it because I can hear you.
That's so great.
But
I want to read it when you're done.
I will lend this to you. So Allison, when was this published? Because it was published during this pandemic, right?
Yes, but it was, I feel like, in case anybody is like, what have I done with my coronavirus experience? Shoot, I feel like I should emphasize that it was written in 2019. The book publishing process takes a really long time. And this one was relatively fast. by the publishing standards I'm pretending I'm intimately familiar with, even though this is my first book, I'm told that it's usually a much more lengthy process. Whereas I went from pitching my version of the book to signing a contract to writing it and getting a draft in a very short span of time.
Wow.
My final edits went in I think February of this year. They have a little series, the How series, that allows people with different areas of expertise in the arts and humanities to sort of write about a particular angle on that thing. So in my case, they wanted a book about television, and I said, well, hey, here's what I think. And all art, but television in particular, can be an incredible engine for empathy and for connection. And there are absolutely ways that watching serialized storytelling in particular can improve your critical thinking, can make you a more compassionate, evolved, educated person. And I really believe those things. So I got to write a book about them, which was very cool, but I didn't write it during a pandemic. I've written lots of things, but just in case anyone is like, what have you done? She wrote a book. I didn't. I wrote a book in 2019. I did some edits on it at the beginning of this year. That's
the
it.
Psychology of television, right? Like what it can do for you. And
Yeah.
Allison, where can people buy your book?
Yes.
I mean, I have bought it, but where can people go and buy your book?
Just about anywhere, frankly. I know I'm not sure which bookstores it's being carried in person, just because sadly bookstores are dying, but you can get it on bookshop.org, which, if you're unfamiliar, is a really great site that connects people who are looking to buy books online with local bookstores, independent bookstores. So check that out. But it's also on Amazon, bn.com, all of those things. I did briefly at the beginning of the year, or I guess the end of last year, did holiday work at a Barnes and Noble, which is something I did in high school. And I just had the urge to do something that wasn't right. So I was doing 5 or 6 hours a week at a Barnes and Noble nearby. And the thrill I got when it occurred to me to see whether or not my book was already in the catalog, it was just nuts. It was really nuts. Having an ISBN number is a real trip.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure it is.
That's amazing.
It was very cool.
Congratulations. That's
Thanks.
fantastic. That's really great. Good for you.
It is. So what are some of your favorite, I know you're writing it for a lot of other different publications. And so do you have a particular favorite column that you're writing right now?
Are you setting me up for a transition?
I am segueing like a boss.
I gotcha. I'm with you.
Allison. Yep.
Yes, I somehow convinced the very fine people at The Takeout, which is one of the food publications that I write for, the food publication that I write for, mostly about alcohol, but in this case, not, because I convinced them to let me run a column called "What Food Didn't They Eat on The Bachelor This Week?" Which I did for an entire season of The Bachelor. I'm now doing for a season of The Bachelorette. Will be doing for Bachelor in Paradise and any other Bachelor series that they decide.
What food didn't they eat?
What food didn't get eaten on The Bachelorette? Yeah. There's this, I could go into a very highbrow analysis of why it is that I do this. And I do have a thesis that's more advanced than this is so dumb and fun. But the real reason I do it is because it's so dumb and fun. It's really dumb and fun. There's this sort of through line if you watch these shows, which I only really started watching because I was writing about television and now I can't stop.
Yeah.
I just can't stop. Where they go on these dates and the dates always end with dinner and then they never touch the food. They don't touch the food. They don't look at the food. They don't acknowledge the food. They don't even pretend like, ooh, this smells good. They just sit down at a table, have a conversation, usually about a traumatic event in the other person's past, and don't eat the food and then walk away and go look at fireworks. It's bizarre. This show's relationship to food is so strange.
Oh, they walk away and go look at fireworks. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it happens with staggering frequency. There's at least one fireworks date per season, but there's food in every episode. And this season has been strange because they are occasionally actually eating. It sort of blew my mind a little bit the last week. That's why the headline that Elise just shared was what food didn't get eaten on The Bachelorette this week? Well, I'll be damned. Because they ate room service.
Well,
you saw them eat room service. Yeah, it's wild.
I know beyond your writing, and I want to circle back and talk about like your recommendations of what we should all be watching. But first, I want to talk about your podcasts real quick, because they are so fun. So I know you are doing Debating Doctor Who, which is your Doctor Who podcast, and then I am a big fan of Podlander Drunkcast. So can you tell us all a little bit about the Podlander Drunkcast, especially?
Yeah. It used to be, the joke used to be that my co-host Julie and I would tell, is that it's exactly what it sounds like, only that's not really true anymore. It used to be Podlander Drunkcast and Outlander Podcast, and it was just the two of us and our friend Aaron, who on the show we called Janine because he's the Janine to our Ghostbusters. It's the whole thing. Have a couple of beers and talk about the most recent episode of Outlander. But now it's sort of evolved into something bigger. There's a little community that sprung up around it. And we have pivoted to, there is no new Outlander right now, but we wanted to keep doing the show. So we have pivoted to talking about specifically Jane Austen adaptations. So it's like a sub podcast or a mini series podcast within the existing podcast called Sauced and Austen. And then this is volume 1, Imbibe and Prejudice. That's where we're at.
Yes.
So we're making our way through the Pride and Prejudice adaptations. And Elise is actually going to join us to talk about the Hallmark Christmas movie, Christmas at Pemberley Manor.
Oh, yes.
Which I'm so excited about. And then after that, I think we're moving on to Bridget Jones's Diary. We just did the Laurence Olivier Pride and Prejudice. Before that was the A&E miniseries, but there are so many. We're going to be on Pride and Prejudice for quite a while, and then we'll switch to Sense and Sensibility.
We'll have to put the link up so people can find it.
So where can people listen to these podcasts?
They're on all the places that you find podcasts. So iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, all those places. So yeah, Podlander Drunkcast and Debating Doctor Who, which is actually exactly what it sounds like and is very straightforward. They're both really fun. And the Drunkcast in particular has always been a real joy, but in this year in particular has been an absolute godsend. We had a remote funeral for a fictional character and 200 people showed up. Wow. It was wild. For a fictional character that we did a funeral over Crowdcast. We had a listener who happens to be a reverend. She did like a little service for us.
Oh, wow.
People cried, people sang. It was amazing. It was so funny and cool.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so
power
wonderful.
of TV right there.
Yeah, totally.
The last thing, because you are my TV guru.
I can't wait.
What should we be watching right now? What are your favorite TV shows that are on right now?
Well, let me put this back to you slightly. What do you have an itch for? Because I feel like right now, especially, there's a huge gap between what are the best shows on television and what are the TV shows that I, in my heart and body, need to watch right now.
Tam, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know. I like the limited series. Like, there's going to be 4 episodes or 6 episodes and then you're done.
Great. I have a great one for you. HBO Max just started a limited series called The Flight Attendant, starring
I just started watching that. So.
Did you? Oh, it's really great.
One
I'm so
episode
glad.
in.
Yeah, there are 3 out.
So much fun.
It's so fun, and she's so great in it.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 out because they did a 3-episode dump at the top, and then there are going to be 2 more this week, 2 more the week following, and then 1 after that, and that's it. Then it's a wrap.
Yeah, I'm watching another one tonight. I'm so excited. Yay.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's a really good time. Elise, what about you?
See, I'm a binge watcher. Like, I love to I actually really love like a kind of an intense, like I binged watched Euphoria recently. And
okay.
I actually really love like an intense binge watch TV show.
Great. I Hate Susie. This is a Billy Piper series, which hopefully will be returning, but with the pandemic, who knows? That is not autobiographical, but she co-created it, and it is very obviously loosely inspired by her own experiences, because it's about a young woman who gets famous as a pop star at a very young age, goes on to become sort of a star of genre television, and then moves on to horror television, and it's about her life imploding when compromising photos of her are leaked in one of those.
What a great synopsis. I love it. Now I'm intrigued.
It's great. She's so good. It's funny and messy.
Oh, I love it.
It's great.
That sounds good.
Oh, it's really good.
Thank you. I'm just curious because both of us, we said we've gotten a limited series and kind of a intense drama-ish. I don't know. Drama. I'll say
drama. It's a dramedy, maybe.
Like feel good comedies that are out right now that you're like, you should be watching this if you just need some sunshine in your life.
Yes. Boy, do I have you covered. So first of all, I just always tell people, please go watch One Day at a Time, the revival of One Day at a Time, which was on Netflix. And then it was on Pop. Pop is pivoting away from script, despite the success of Schitt's Creek, they're pivoting away from scripted series. So now it doesn't have a home. Maybe it will be picked up by someone else. Maybe it won't. But it's wonderful, incredibly affirming and progressive and very, very funny. Like a god tier sitcom performance from Rita Moreno. Justina Machado is in it. She's great. Yeah.
So I know we're getting close.
Fascinating young lady. I love this. I love her.
I know she's great. She's Allison is one of my smartest and most insightful friends.
I love her. Yeah.
And it's why it makes sense that like you, I love that you were like, let me match the TV with the person. Like, let me
what a great reply.
It's one of my favorite things about doing this. I watch so much television that luckily I forget a lot of the stuff that's not great.
Right.
There's just not room in my brain. But it puts me in a position to be really specific when people have something they want to watch.
Well, I think we're getting close on time. So Allison, I think we should do our 10 questions.
I know. Thank you for joining us. I love that Elise just introduces me to the coolest people. I love it.
Oh, I'm so happy to meet you as well. This is what a delightful idea. What a fun thing to do.
So Allison, we're going to ask you 10 questions.
Great. All right. Quick answer.
Answers. We're going to go back and forth one at a time and we'll ask you and you can just tell us the first thing that comes to mind.
Great.
All right.
Ready?
Hit it, Tam.
Question number 1, Allison Shoemaker. What is your favorite dessert?
Cake.
Of any kind?
No, I guess I have more specific preferences, but I love, if I'm picking my very favorite cake, I love like a yellow cake with chocolate frosting birthday situation, but cake in general. I also love hand pies, an Elise Mayfield specialty, but pies and hand pies specifically, but I love cake. I would eat cake for every meal if I could. Chrissy Teigen has a baked oatmeal cake recipe, or it's baked oatmeal, but with yellow cake in it. And it's amazing. I love cake.
Good to know.
Seek that out.
Okay. Question number 2, which I know the answer to this. I'm almost positive. Question number 2, dogs or cats?
Both.
I thought you were going to say cats.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a cat named Nancy Drew. I love her so much. She is amazing. She loves me. She has now moved on from tolerating my partner to liking him, which is good. But I love dogs too. So, but is it a total cop out to say both?
No, most people do.
Great.
Yep.
Both.
Most people
for
do.
sure.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Question number 3. Do you still make a wish when you blow out your birthday candles?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. All right. Question number 4. If you didn't live in Chicago, where would you live?
Where would I want to live or where would I actually live?
Ooh.
Both.
Yeah, let's do both.
I'd want to live in Oxford, England.
Yes.
That is where I would want to live if I could live anywhere. Yeah. I love it. It's my favorite place on the planet, maybe, of the places I've been. If I was going to live somewhere else, it would be LA, where all of the people who I work with are constantly telling me that's where I have to move if I want to progress my career, but I don't want to live in LA. So
it may
we'll
happen.
see. It might. It might.
All right, question number 5. If you could wear only one color for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Gray.
Gray.
I
Like gray. I find it
I
very
like this-
calming
this
yeah.
shade.
and it's neutral
Mhm.
because I was tempted to say hot pink. But
Yes,
I feel
that
like if I'm choosing one thing for the rest of my life, like
Every
like
color.
a dove gray.
Yes.
Mhm. I like that. You can accessorize, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My hair's pink right now. I would have it
I
that
know. I
way.
do like your pink hair.
Thank you.
Okay. Question number 6. What did you collect as a child?
I collected Pocahontas trading cards. I had a Pogs face.
Yes.
I had a brief but intense basketball cards phase.
Okay.
Let's see, collected books. And then my freshman year in high school, I was cast in a production of The Glass Menagerie. And then for like 6 years, everyone I knew only bought me glass animals as presents
Sure.
until I had to ask people to stop. So that collection was more unintentional. But it was the first thing that came to mind, as opposed to the Pocahontas trading cards, which I relentlessly tried to get a complete set of. I have no idea where they are. I don't know why those. I was obsessed.
That's amazing. I love that.
What a great answer. I love it. I love it. So, okay, question number 7. Are you related to anyone famous? And if so, who?
Distantly and sort of.
Yes, those are the answers we're looking for.
Good. I think technically a third cousin, might be a second cousin. I can never really remember. I've only met him once. And he is Marshall Crenshaw, who I do not know if anyone is going to know, but he is a songwriter of some renown, who is also involved with late night television.
Okay.
That's all I got.
That's great.
That's good.
Okay, question number 8. Sweet or salty?
Both.
Great.
That's good. Yeah, we get a lot of those. We get a lot of those.
Preferably both at once, like a salted caramel situation. Love it.
That was my answer too. Like nothing brings me greater joy than a salted Rice Krispie treat.
Oh, yeah.
It's the jam.
Yeah.
Yum. All right. Now I think, even though I've only known you for a short period, I think I might know the answer to this next question.
Great.
What do you prefer, musicals or straight plays?
That's really hard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that is a choice that I can make, if only because I spent a lot of time as a theater artist trying to like tear that particular barrier away. I love a play with music. I love anything that sort of muddies the genre walls. I love it when people unexpectedly burst into song.
Yep.
But you know, I also just really love theater. So I don't know. I'm a huge music theater fan.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can.
You can say both.
I think I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I think it's both.
All theater. Anything
Yes.
that makes me feel feelings that I get to experience with other people is a-okay by me.
Yes. Excellent.
Love the theater. Okay.
Here we
The
go.
last question, Allison.
Great.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the funniest, how funny are you?
Okay. Let's see. So
Such seriousness.
Break it down. All right, here
when
we go.
I'm just having an average day, I'm like a 3.
Mm.
When I'm sleep deprived,
Okay. Yes.
that's like a 9.
Yes. I've been there for this. It's true.
And then when I'm just like feeling really charming, I'm probably like a 5, unless Julie Starbird, who is my Drunkcast co-host, is also there, in which case she goes from a 10 to a 15, and I go from like a 6 to a 9.
That's true.
So-
You guys do feed off of each other. So
Yes,
you make
yeah.
each other
That's
funnier.
so great. Yay.
Such a delight. Thank you for spending your evening with Tam and I.
Thank you for having me.
How
I
much
hope
fun is
we can
this?
watch TV together and talk about theater again. That would be
Yeah.
fun.
I would love that. What a wonderful idea.
Oh, I have one last question. Allison, where can people find your writing? You have a newsletter, is that right?
Yeah, it's I have a newsletter. I mean, I've created a newsletter that is gonna start eventually, like a lot of writers. But you can find it at allisonshoemaker.substack.com.
That sounds great.
Other than that, you can find my stuff by following me on Twitter at Allison Shoe, or my most frequent outlets are rogerebert.com, where I'm one of the primary TV critics, and the AV Club.
Yay. Well, have a good night, Allison. Thanks for joining us.
You too. Thank you for having me. This was so fun. Yeah.
Yay. Goodbye.